Back in the 3rd century BC, Rome was the rising superpower of the Mediterranean, and you generally didn't poke the bear. But one woman didn't just poke the bear, she robbed it blind. She wasn't a Roman general or a rival king. She was Queen Teuta of Illyria, a leader who turned the Adriatic Sea into her personal treasure chest and transformed pirates into her royal navy. This is the incredible story of the pirate queen who took on Rome and became a legend of pure defiance. To get Teuta's story, you have to picture the world she lived in. The 3rd century BC was a clash of titans. You had the Greek kingdoms fighting over what was left of Alexander the Great's empire, and then you had Rome, which was quickly becoming the biggest player in the game. But squeezed between them, along the stunning coastline of the Western Balkans, was Illyria. Illyria wasn't one big unified kingdom. It was more like a patchwork of fierce tribes. The strongest of these were the Ardeaei, led by the ambitious King Agron. Agron built his kingdom on two things: a tough army and an even tougher navy packed with swift warships called lemboi. These ships were basically the ancient equivalent of speedboats, perfect for the hit-and-run raids that made Illyrians masters of the sea. Agron created a kingdom that stretched across parts of modern-day Albania, Montenegro, and Bosnia, and it was a real force to be reckoned with on both land and sea. In 231 BCE, King Agron won a huge victory against the Greek Aetolians. But as the story goes, he celebrated his win so hard that he fell sick with pleurisy and died just days later. This left the kingdom in a tough spot. Agron's son, Pinnes, was only a boy and too young to rule. In this moment of crisis, the fate of the kingdom fell to Agron's formidable wife, Queen Teuta. Stepping up as Queen Regent, Teuta inherited a powerful military, but also a kingdom that was built on constant raiding and plunder. She didn't just continue her husband's policies, she cranked them up to 11. Where Agron had built a strong navy, Teuta unleashed it. She immediately sent her forces against Greek cities, proving that the king's death hadn't weakened the throne one bit. Teuta wasn't just keeping the seat warm. She was a ruler in her own right, ready to finish what Agron had started. Under Teuta's command, the Adriatic and Ionian seas became a nightmare for merchant ships. She launched an aggressive policy of what was essentially state-sponsored piracy. In Illyria, piracy wasn't just a crime, it was a legitimate, even respected profession that powered the kingdom's economy. Teuta gave her ships free rein, and they became the terror of the seas, looting Greek and Roman ships without distinction. Her commanders were told to treat everyone sailing these waters as a potential target. But this wasn't just random chaos. It was a calculated strategy to build wealth and power. Her forces even captured Phoenice, one of the richest cities in the Greek region of Epirus, which sent shockwaves through the Hellenistic world. Teuta's grip on the Adriatic was so tight she became known as the Queen of the Seas. But all this aggressive expansion wasn't going to go unnoticed by the rising power across the water. Trouble was brewing, and it was heading straight for Illyria. All this piracy was, unsurprisingly, a huge problem for Rome. It wasn't just annoying, it was messing with their economy and was a direct challenge to their authority. So in 230 BCE, the Roman Senate sent two diplomats, the brothers Gaius and Lucius Coruncanius, to have a little chat with the queen. Now what happened next is legendary, but keep in mind our main source is the Roman historian Polybius, who wasn't exactly a fan. He says the envoys found Teuta celebrating a recent victory and demanded she shut down her pirates. Teuta's response was epic. She reportedly told them that in Illyria, piracy was a time-honored private business, and it wasn't the government's job to meddle in the careers of its citizens. One of the envoys shot back that Rome would make her change Illyrian customs. That didn't go over well. The Roman version of the story claims an enraged Teuta had one of the envoys assassinated on his way home. While modern historians debate whether she gave the direct order, for Rome, the death of an ambassador was the ultimate insult. It was the perfect excuse for a war, and Teuta had just handed it to them. Rome's response was massive and immediate. In 229 BCE, a Roman army crossed the Adriatic Sea for the first time in history. And this wasn't some small patrol. Rome sent a fleet of 200 warships, 20,000 soldiers, and 2,000 cavalry. Teuta was seemingly caught off guard, with a large part of her fleet busy besieging the Greek island of Corcyra, modern Corfu. The war kicked off with a stunning betrayal. When the Roman fleet showed up at Corcyra, Teuta's own governor, a man named Demetrius of Pharos, surrendered the city without a fight and switched sides, advising the Romans for the rest of the war. With Demetrius's insider knowledge, the Roman legions landed and did what they did best. They marched north with ruthless efficiency, taking key cities, breaking sieges, and accepting the surrender of local tribes who were all too happy to side with the new boss in the region. Teuta's forces, while great in sea skirmishes, were simply no match for the disciplined power of the Roman army on land. The fight she started was quickly turning into a disaster. Completely outplayed and overwhelmed, Teuta had to fall back. She retreated to her last stronghold, the heavily fortified city of Rhizon. With her kingdom collapsing around her, she finally surrendered to Rome in 228 BCE. The peace terms were brutal and designed to make sure an Illyrian threat would never rise again. Teuta lost huge chunks of her territory, was forced to pay a massive tribute to Rome, and, in the most humiliating blow of all, her navy was basically grounded. Illyrian warships were forbidden from sailing south of the city of Lissus with an armed crew, which effectively ended their reign over the Adriatic. The pirate queen was caged. Rome allowed her to rule a much smaller kingdom, but her power was broken. What happened to her after that is shrouded in mystery. Some sources claim she abdicated rather than rule in humiliation. But local folklore tells a more dramatic tale, that she walked to the cliffs near Rhizon and threw herself into the sea, choosing death over a life of defeat. So, how should we remember Queen Teuta? It's important to know that her story was written by her enemies. Roman and Greek historians like Polybius and Cassius Dio painted her as impulsive, short-sighted, and driven by so-called woman's weakness, a classic tactic they used to discredit strong female leaders. Her defiance was called arrogance, her strategy, recklessness. But if you look past the biased accounts, a different person emerges. Teuta was a bold and formidable leader who took the kingdom she inherited and immediately made it a dominant naval power that rocked the entire region. Today, Teuta is celebrated as a national heroine in Albania and other Balkan nations, a symbol of resistance against a foreign superpower. Her image even appears on Albanian currency, a lasting tribute to a leader who fought for her people's independence. Her war with Rome was a turning point. It marked the beginning of Rome's relentless expansion into the Balkans, a move that would eventually lead to the conquest of Greece and the rest of the Hellenistic world. Queen Teuta was way more than just a pirate queen. She was the leader of a nation trying to carve out its own path in a world being swallowed by empires. She may have lost the war, but her story of defiance is unforgettable. She represents the last fierce roar of a free Illyria before the shadow of Rome fell over its shores. A warrior queen who looked the world's greatest power in the eye and didn't back down. So what's your take on Queen Teuta? Was she a reckless pirate whose ambition got the best of her, or a strategic leader playing a tough hand? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this trip back in time, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next story.